Hi there. We will start with the story of a young person, young boy whose name is Abraham. He was 20 years old. When he was 20 years old, many people found out that he was talented. His teachers and his friends and his parents and neighbors, everyone used to say he is talented in many areas. He was a good musician. He can play few instruments and he can sing, and furthermore he was able to lead a choir. At a young age itself, he was skilled enough to lead a choir. Actually, he was at the same time a good sportsman as well. He used to play shuttle, badminton. He used to play volleyball, cricket, and also he had good ideas to give to his team members. That's why many of his friends and teachers thought that he would be good in sports and he can select a career related to sports. And then at the same time, he was a good eloquent speaker as well. He was able to communicate with the people what he wanted to really communicate with them through his language. Fluent, flawless English. And what comes to his mind, he was able to present it so well. So, communication skill was there. And there are so many more talents he had. And he was a good organizer. He was a good communicator. And all these qualities were there. Actually, the problem was that he was good in many areas. So he was finally found it very difficult to select a career for him, in which area he should proceed. Finally, it's so interesting that leaving all his musical skills, all his sports skills, administration, everything he left, and finally he decided to become a school teacher. School, not high school or UP school, a lower primary school teacher. And that was something amazing actually. People thought, what foolishness this fellow is doing. He can do many other things. But he was wise enough, or he was willing to become a school teacher, leaving all his other talents outside. Now the question comes here, how was he able to come to the conclusion that he would be successful, more successful in his profession as a school teacher? That is what we are going to look at. Even though we are skilled in many areas, even though we are interested in many areas, it's very difficult for us to sometimes find out what exactly should we proceed with, what exactly should we take as our career, how should go, in which way should we go. It's actually a major question that young people, especially those who are just finishing 10th, would be facing. And this message is for you. Listen to this very carefully. I'll tell you the story of another girl whose name is Sarah. Sarah was a very silent person. In the school, she was so silent. She was not involving in any areas. She was a person who is sitting in some corner and praying, not even opening her mouth to talk to her friends. She didn't have many friendships as well. And so it was very difficult for someone to guide her what is the actual talent in her and which way she should go. During her hostel days, she decided to take a guitar, and her roommate was playing guitar, and she took that guitar and found that she can play guitar well. After some time, she started writing songs, and some of the albums she produced, and that is how she found that she is a musician. And along with that, she started going for programs, and character changed, the nature changed. She has become a musician well known in different aspects of music, including technological knowledge that is necessary in the music field. Now, what we need to find out, which is my area, which area should I go with, which area should I proceed with. And the first thing I want to say is you have to find out what gives you the maximum pleasure. You may be a person who is involved in sports, cricket, or football. Or you may be a person who is involved in social activities. Maybe you are an eloquent speaker. Maybe you are involved in organizing things, helping the poor. All these things are good. But the question I want to ask you is, what gives you more pleasure? And you can make an order first. One, two, three, four, like that. You can make order where it gives you pleasure. And the second thing I want to tell you is, you yourself have to evaluate and find out in which area are you good at. Your talent may not be your your interest may not be your talent. And it's actually challenging to find out what is the area I am talented in. So you only have to ponder upon yourself, find out what is the area I am successful at. You may be a person who is getting good marks in science, You may be getting good marks in mathematics as well, but maybe there is another subject like social science or English language or some local languages you really enjoy it. You can, enjoy those subjects. Sometimes people think it is not that superior, it is not that interesting, but still you may be a person who is finding interest in that and you can proceed with that. I was so stunned to listen to Dr. Shashi Tharoor when he said he was good at every subject. We all know that he was good at every subject, but the subject he opted for after his 10th was arts, or history was a subject he selected at. So if you want to be successful in life, you can select even this way also. You can walk in the way of history, you can walk in the way of journalism, you can walk in the way of even other subjects which are generally not accepted by the mainline crowd. But you may have an interest in that, you may be good at that, and please try to find it out by yourself. It's not what others say, it's up to you. You may get good marks in other subjects, but that may not be the subject that moves in your heart, and you have to find it out and go in that way. And then the next thing you can do is think about things that you were successful at in the past. That also we have to think the things that gives you success, the areas where you have involved in and it gave you success. You can think about that, and also listen carefully to what other people speak. Especially listen to or give your ears to what the elderly people say about you. Sometimes elderly people will say some comments about you which will give you a lot of lessons. Maybe it can be a negative comment, maybe it can be a positive comment as well. You listen to that and try to grab the essence in that comment which somebody has made. That comments will really help you to find out who you are and where you're supposed to go. What is your actual career that is awaiting you? That also will help. So whenever people say a bad comment about you, never get discouraged. Rather, try to grab some lessons draw some lessons from those negative comments as well, not only positive comments. Some people are like, they only want positive comments. If somebody says a negative comment, they are finished. They're too sensitive actually. We should not be too sensitive like that. When somebody says a negative comment, maybe it's a negative comment, that's fine, but that has a lesson to tell you, that has some message to tell you that you are good in this area. So you can proceed with that area which you have been, commended on. And then another thing, if you find you have skill in this area, try to develop that skill. Try to develop that area of your skill. And the next thing you need to do is like putting your room in order in a tidy manner, the way you welcome the guests that coming to your house, the way you listen to others, the way you find, solutions for the problem of others, the way you find solution for your own problems, and the way you smile at others, the message that you communicate through your smiling, the message you communicate through your good handwriting. These are all some signs which you can draw so many lessons about yourself, not about others, about yourself with all this character, all this nature that you have. When you are getting disturbed at a house or a room that is not, tidy and neat, that tells you that you have an organizing mind. You want to see things going in an orderly manner. You cannot tolerate things not going in the orderly manner. You can understand that you have a skill in organizing. You may be a good administrator as well. If you have siblings at home, especially younger siblings, if you're able to manage them, if you're able to organize them, teach them some good lessons, you can understand you have a skill in managing people. Right? If you have a smiling skill, maybe you are good at hospitality. And so, like that, some of your nature that you have, some of the things that you really enjoy, when you enjoy people coming home and you're spending time with them and you're listening to them, these are all some signs that you need to listen to. If you're a father, if you're a mother, if you're thinking about your children and their future, you should be a person who is eagerly and keenly looking at some of these areas of your children, because that has a lot to tell you, that has a lot of things to communicate with you. That in fact shows their nature for their future. Dr. APJ Abdul Kalam said, all of us do not have an equal talent, but all of us have an equal opportunity to develop our talents. So this is something so important that speaks a lot to us. We may not have talents like other people. When you look at a doctor, you may think, I also want to become a doctor. You went to the hospital, you saw a nurse, the service of that nurse, how that nurse is actually becoming a comfort for the patients in the hospital. You thought, okay, I will also become a nurse. And you saw a lawyer who is arguing so powerfully in the court. You thought, I will also become a lawyer. And that is not how you find out who you are. That's not what you're supposed to do in order to make a good career in future. You have to find out what you're good at. In my childhood, I used to spend a lot of money for buying books. And many people told me, don't spend money for this, when all my friends were spending all their money in the bakery eating foods, and some of them were spending money for buying cricket balls, cricket bats. I was spending all my money for buying books. And some of the books I bought were, I couldn't understand those books. What is this? But still, I had that habit of buying books. And some of the books are still with me. I read some of those books. So I find out that it is, knowledge is the way I should walk. Books gives me a lot of pleasure. When I go to the library, I find a lot of pleasure sitting in the library, seeing all the books. And whenever I go to a house, a friend's house, or some of the houses when we visit, if I see a library in that house, I feel so good at it. I will be a person who is going to that library to which are the books over there, and I touch some of those books. Even if I don't touch, if I see books, that's fine for me. That's enough for me. But that's about myself. And you may be a person who is spending all your money for buying electronic gadgets. You may be a person who is spending all your money for buying sports goods. You may be a person who is spending a lot of money for the beggars or the people who are in need of money. And these are some of the signs that we see in our childhood where you will be able to make up a future, an interesting future where you will enjoy. I had a friend in my childhood days, in my young days. He was a man who was giving so much of money to the beggars on the roadside. I used to tell him, why are you spending a lot of money for beggars? You should not encourage begging. That was my point. But he was not listening to me. He was giving a lot of money. One fine day, I have come to the understanding that his mission or his future will be for serving the people who are in need. Right now, he's serving the people who are poor. He's giving food to hundreds of people every month, and he's giving medical support. And his future is developed in that way. He's enjoying, and his children and his family, all of them are enjoying what he's doing. In which area are we spending most of our money? That speaks to us where our future should be. In which area are we enjoying our future? Right. And there are some of the things that we see in the Bible, and I don't want to conclude this message without saying that also. In Psalm 33, verse 3, it says, play skillfully to the Lord. That is something related to playing music. But at the same time, that one word will take from the Bible, which is skillfully. Whatever we do it skillfully. The modern world is actually looking for people who are skillful at things. We've been living in a generation where children are so good at everything that they touch. Their intellectual capacity is much more than the previous generation. Their understanding, their lifespan, it's all much more than the previous generation. So what we understand is we have to do everything with much skill and much expertise in everything that we do. And that is where we find success at. That's what Bible says. So if you're a singer, you sing with the best instruments, sing with the best machines that you need to have. If you're a tailor, you should be a tailor who is making a lot of creative ideas in your job. If you're a carpenter, you should be a person who is, skillfully doing your work. And, another verse in James chapter 1 verse 17 says, every good gift comes from the Lord. And it is God who is giving you talents. Use those talents for your good so that God would be happy. Because when God gives you a talent, it's your job to find it out and then sharpen it, shape it properly, and use it for your good so that God's mission will be accomplished. And I believe God would be happy to see that. As the psalmist says in 139 verse 14, God has made us fearfully and wonderfully. No one else can understand how we are, what we are. Only we can understand because God has made it that way. In the Bible, we see the story of a person whose name is Bezalel. Bezalel was so gifted by God in doing some of His areas. Finally, some of us are so confused. What is God's plan in my life? What God really wants me to do? What is my future? Where I should go? If I go in this way, will God be angry? Will that be safe? Let me tell you, if you're a person who is believing in God, if you're a person who is praying to God, God will not put you in shame. Even if the way you have selected is not the right path, still God is able to bless you, because God is not angry at you for any options that you selected. God can still bless you as long as God is not coming and telling you directly. We don't hear any voices like that. So, according to our happiness, according to how we find pleasure and joy, we are supposed to walk in that way. We'll be able to see success coming on our way, and we will be able to give glory to the name of God. And I pray that all of us who are listening to this message would be able to look into themselves and find out which is the area that is actually taunting you, which is the area that you are actually interested at, which is the area that gives you pleasure and joy, and you will be able to walk on that way so that you will have a good future and a much better future than how people evaluate and contemplate about you. May God bless you. Thank you for listening.